Hi there guys, I hope you are having a good day. Grab yourself a cup of tea and let's talk some boxing, and specifically let's talk about Undisputed in the super lightweight division between Josh Taylor and Jose Ramirez. Josh Taylor has gotten a unanimous decision victory and became Undisputed champion. Now, this was an extremely intense fight, and Josh Taylor actually dropped him twice, once in the 6th and once in the 7th. The first one was a short shot where he pulled off of Ramirez, then came back with his own cross, and Ramirez just fumbled to the ground. He didn't even put his hands out. He kind of fell onto Taylor, then went down in the corner. And the second one was a sharp uppercut, and you could see it was almost like Jose Ramirez was blindsided because he didn't see it at all, and that caused him some difficulty. You could see how when he tried to get up, he almost struggled to get back to his feet. I mean, he kind of rolled, and you could see that troubled him a lot more than the first knockdown. Now, the pace, the distance that these guys were fighting at was incredible, and it did seem like Ramirez had his moments, but Josh Taylor was always answering those moments. So when Ramirez had any kind of success and even was able to back Josh Taylor up, it would kind of be like Taylor would take some and then he would find an answer. There was no moment where you could see Ramirez was grabbing a hold of this fight, and he had a continuous streak, like round after round. Taylor was always able to break it up, and it was with his movement, his awkwardness, and his jab as well. That double jab was really effective for Taylor, especially early on in the contest. Now, Ramirez did want to trade up close, and both fighters actually enjoy doing that. Taylor is one to get involved when he wants to. But in this fight, particularly early on, he did want to control Jose Ramirez. That being said, he did not say no when Ramirez did want to have it up close, and that's incredible from Josh Taylor, working down to the body as well, playing Ramirez's games at times, and he was coming out on top. Of course, Ramirez had his moments, but again, that was always thwarted at some point by Taylor. He would land a sharp shot, he would spin off and get around to the side, get the space behind him, get back to center ring so that he has space to move into. And that was the thing with Ramirez. He could close that gap, but when he got there, he struggled to capitalize. That's not down to Ramirez, that's down to the skill and ability and experience at world level from Josh Taylor. Now, it was clear from early on that Josh Taylor did have the edge in hand speed and obviously the physical advantages as well. Probably punched a little bit harder than Ramirez also, and that was difficult for Ramirez to deal with because it's not easy trying to get to his opponent when he has to walk through some stiff shots in order to get there, punches that do hurt, and on his way in as well, they cause more of an effect. Now, what Ramirez tried to do was punch with Josh Taylor at times, because the problem is with someone who's that fast and can move as well, how can he find a way to land his punches when the guy's always outlanding him, is faster and is moving as well? So he had to at times punch with Josh Taylor in order to find his own shots, because at that point it's easier to catch him because Josh Taylor will have his feet planted. But having said that, Taylor was still moving with his punches as well. As we said earlier with that double jab, coming around to the side, keeping his feet moving and also making sure he has obviously those physical advantages, so therefore it's going to be difficult for Ramirez to close the gap when that jab is in his face. I think that was a great thing that Ben Davison also brought to the table, because Josh Taylor had a good jab, but it was never as effective as it was in the Jose Ramirez fight. So that is clearly something they worked on, to keep Ramirez on the outside when they needed to, but they were also happy to trade up close, and we saw Taylor going down to the body and really digging, just like Jose Ramirez was, so matching him in every department. So Taylor was fighting his own way, but when Ramirez got involved, that was when Taylor was happy to trade with him to fight his way, and still he came out on top. Of course, Ramirez did have his moments. He had times where he was coming into the fight, but Taylor never allowed him to establish a foothold and build off of his success. Now, we have to give a huge amount of credit also to Ben Davison, because I do believe that the game plan was integral to Josh Taylor's victory. I believe that Josh Taylor emerged as the better man because he had more than Jose Ramirez, but also the game plan was very important. you could see how it played out, how the fight played out, and you could also see that Josh Taylor was sticking to a game plan. He knew how he could beat Jose Ramirez, and he obviously spent months alongside Ben Davison in order to put that game plan together, because they seemed to have an answer to everything that Jose Ramirez threw at them. And the way he was kind of pulling off of shots from Ramirez, then coming straight back, that bothered Ramirez a lot, especially considering he was coming in and committing. We said that in the build-up in our breakdown video, that Ramirez does close the gap quite quickly, and he works down to the body, but he doesn't show angles when he gets there, and sometimes that can leave him a little bit flat-footed and vulnerable. Taylor really capitalized on those certain fundamental things that Ramirez was getting wrong, but it was minor things, something that only a skillful fighter like Josh Taylor can capitalize on, because he had the skill to make him miss by an inch and then make him pay for it. So guys, this was an incredible fight, fought at an intense pace. I mean, there wasn't a dull moment in this contest. It's a shame it didn't get the kind of promotion, I guess, that it deserved, because Undisputed in the super lightweight division, that's a great division as well. Josh Taylor really has gone from strength to strength, becoming world champion, unifying, becoming World Boxing Super Series champion, and now Undisputed. There is no doubt at who is the number one in that weight class, and I know that there are going to be those who say, okay, let's talk about moving up. Well, yeah, he can go to welterweight, but at the moment he's number one. There are still some great fights out there for Josh Taylor, and a fighter doesn't always need to go through the weight classes. I mean, I believe he will, because he is big enough to compete with some welterweights. He's not a small guy, he's not a small super lightweight, he's actually quite a big super lightweight. So he can move up if he wants to, but at the moment I think that is important. He enjoys being undisputed and recognised as number one in that super lightweight division. Let's remember, he's still quite young in the sport. He's only had 18 fights, that was his 18th fight, and he is undisputed champion. So there is still plenty for Josh Taylor to do in the boxing ring. It's just at the moment, the important thing for him to do is to enjoy his success, because look at the achievements he's had in the sport of boxing. In a relatively short time, he turned pro in 2015. Just think about that for a moment. 6 years in the sport of boxing, and he's become undisputed champion, unified, World Boxing Super Series champion as well. Incredible achievements in the sport of boxing. And I know that there has been a lot of talk about AJ versus Fury, especially in the week building up to this fight, and that is very, very unfortunate, because it's a shame that that has taken some shine away from the undisputed fight that was actually taking place. I know that that did not stop Josh Taylor and Jose Ramirez putting in that kind of performance and giving us that kind of entertainment in the actual fight. I just wish it could have got more promotion, because it definitely deserved a lot more than what it got, because it was a huge fight, and the level these guys were fighting at was just incredible. Elite level boxing, and Josh Taylor emerges as undisputed champion. Anyway guys, what are your thoughts on this? Make sure you leave your thoughts in the comments below. Also leave a like and grab that subscribe button. Thanks guys.